This conference will now be recorded.
So I want to welcome you all to Why So Stinky Part 1. Today we're going to talk about the human body and body odor and why that happens. How can you avoid it? Is it possible? Is it natural just to have body odor? And I will share my testimony with you near the end and a few of my clients' testimonies with you. So as we go here, is sweating normal? Is stinky normal? And I don't know, what's the deal with it? Is this part of our human makeup? Let's find out. I hope that I'm able to share this information with you in a very practical way so you can understand why so stinky. And for those who don't know me, my name is Carolyn Nickel. I am a certified holistic nutritionist and just a happy, healthy person, pretty much. And I just love and very passionate about sharing this information. And here we go, understanding the human body. So bromidiosis is actually a health condition that if you have body odor that is constant, that is extremely strong, you could be diagnosed with this. It's a very foul smelling body odor. It's beyond just regular sweat. It's more like, you know, that smell of rotten eggs or bad fish. So it's actually related to your sweat. And here's the key that I want everybody listening to understand, that perspiration itself, and I've taken this right from Healthline, took their definition right off their website, healthline.com. Perspiration itself actually has no odor. It's only when sweat encounters bacteria on the skin and begins to decompose, if I can add that in there, that the smell emerges. This is very important, folks. I want you to keep that in the back of your mind as we continue through this program. So I just want you guys to understand that there's body odor, and then there are some people that have really bad body odor all the time. There's body odor, I've worked out, I've sweated a bit more, and now I'm a little stinky, but there's others that may have a serious odor condition. And that could be you, could not be you, but I just want you to know that no matter if it's a condition or if it's just smelling from working out, all is fixable. And that's why I just love our human body, the way that God so fearfully and wonderfully has made it. So here's some basics. Understanding that when you have body odor, your sweat itself, the perspiration generally, let me put that in quotations, generally does not smell. The smell comes from the sweat decomposing on the skin's surface. So on the skin's surface, we do have bacteria. I have this vision in my head from when I was like, I'm sure I was maybe 5, 6, 7 years old. And I don't remember what happened, if I had, you know, put my finger in my mouth or something, but another kid said to me, you know, you have bugs all over your body and you just put your finger in your mouth, so you just ate a bug. I'll never get that image out of my head. I like never put my fingers in my mouth again. But I understand now what that person was saying, although I don't think they understood what they were saying, but we do. We have bacteria everywhere all over our body. In fact, bacteria, folks, keeps us safe. That's why I'm not a fan of sanitizing gel and putting all this disinfection on our hands. I agree with hand washing, but when you kill good bacteria, you lose your body's ability to fight disease on its very front line. So bacteria does keep us safe, and it keeps our immune system strong. However, this mix of the sweat with the bacteria can create an odor. So it's very important that if you do not want to have an odor, that you clean your skin. So very simply, we want to make sure that we're showering regularly. that we're using proper soap. And I'll tell you, what you put on your skin surface is extremely important because you have pores all over your skin. And we're going to look at that in a moment. So I highly recommend that you get some sort of a natural soap or cleanser, because otherwise you're just adding more chemicals to your skin. Chemicals seep into your pores, and that in itself can contribute to body odor. But let's just keep to the basics. Regular showering is important. Now, some people will say twice a day is important. Some people will say once a day. There's so many different studies, but I will tell you that your body has natural oils in it. We should not need to cream our skin all the time. Now, for sure, your hands are going to get dry because, especially for me, I'm in the food business. I am constantly washing my hands. But you should not feel like you need to constantly cream your skin, but we do because we're constantly washing our skin. So to be very honest, healthy showering for an extremely healthy person, you might be shocked, is only 3, maximum 4 times a week. However, for the average person, because of the way we eat and live, we need to shower at the very least once a day. Now, clean clothing is important. If you have worn a shirt or pants or undergarments through the day, socks especially, you sweat, you perspire, they're staying close to your skin, and they will carry the bacteria from the environment as well as from your skin on that clothing. So it's important that you have clean clothing. Again, with your soap, your laundry detergent, you don't want to use chemical ones. You don't want to use ones that carry a heavy scent and fragrance, because now you're adding chemicals onto your skin, which again can contribute, believe it or not, to bad body odor. So washing your clothes or putting clothing on that is clean is very important. Breathable fabrics are important. If you are not wearing breathable fabrics, or if you are constantly, we have this, I don't know when it started, maybe 10 years ago, but everybody's wearing all of these tight pants, constant tight pants, tight shirts. This is horrendous for circulation and for body odor, especially for your body to rid itself naturally through its pores of bacteria and sweat. Loose clothing is extremely important for the function of the human body. Your digestive system is so impeded by us wearing tight pants. This whole legging craze is crazy. We're always, not myself, but so many people are always wearing leggings. You're impeding circulation. You're not allowing also your pores and your skin to breathe. So tight clothing and shoes with lots of good mesh in it, so it's also not congesting your feet, is important. Now, hair can carry bacteria as well. The jury's out on me personally on shaving. I definitely do shave under my arms. If that's too much information for you, I'm sorry. But I feel like at the same time, it's a bit of vanity. So I'm not entirely convinced, because the hair is designed and is there to protect you. And I do believe that if God didn't want hair under my arms, he would have made me that way. But I continue to shave it anyways. So I believe that our counterparts in Europe that have hairy underpits, which they think is beautiful, I wish I could think it was beautiful with them. I'm not there in my mental state yet, but here's the reality. If you do not have a healthy diet, if you do not have a clean environment, your hair, anywhere on your body, of course, can carry bacteria. Hair on the bacteria on skin does not stay there very well, but the hair attracts it and it keeps it there. So if you do have a lot of men don't shave their underpits, right? So they tend to be a little bit more sweaty. They have bigger sweat glands anyway, so they sweat a lot more, and they're generally more hairy. So hair can carry bacteria as well. I just don't want you to think that I'm encouraging you to shave everywhere, because I'm not, but I'm just making that a reality. Also, certain foods have natural odors to them. Curry, garlic, onions, alcohol, certain drugs. These can also create bad body odor. understand that caffeine and alcohol increase sweating. Why is that, folks? Why is that? Because they're poison, and your body is trying to get rid of poisons through the surface of your skin. Yes, your coffee is poison. We know that alcohol is poison and poisons our liver, but also just keep in mind that the more you sweat, the more, of course, you have your body has the opportunity to cling to that bacteria, decompose, and create an odor. So let's just understand sweating and understanding why do we sweat? Well, first of all, your body is full of pores. But of course, we're going to talk about the endocrine system in a minute. But of course, your sweat is your body's mechanism to cool you down. That's what it's there for, okay? So, of course, you would know, I'm sure we've all experienced it, where you get wet, then the air that didn't feel cool anymore all of a sudden feels cool. So this is just the way that the body cools down. So when you are working out, your body naturally produces sweat to cool you down. That's what it's there for. But the beauty about it is that your toxins are located right underneath the surface of the skin. They're stored inside your fat cells there. So exercising is such a great way to detoxify, because as you do a lot of cardio exercise, you begin to burn fat. Burnt fat, or fat burning, is releasing toxins, and then your sweat glands are taking those toxins to the surface of the skin. But unfortunately, now we've got sweat taken with toxins hitting bacteria. Woo! That's quite the odor. So that is why we smell a little bit worse after a workout, because you're also detoxifying at the same time. So let's look at our endocrine system, which is, we're talking hormones, people. So understanding that there are a couple glands that play the biggest role in sweat and body odor. So you have your apocrine glands, and you also have your eccrine glands. So let's talk first about just the difference, and thanks to the Mayo Clinic for this wonderful picture. So one of them, the endocrine glands, those glands secrete sweat directly on the skin, and they are all over your body, okay? So that's important to know. Your apocrine glands secrete sweat into the hair follicles, and from there, which you find them, they're only in certain places: under the arms, your genital area, around the anus, and around your nipples. So if you can think on a physical picture now, where do we smell the most, right? Those are the areas where you'll find yourself having more odor than the other areas. So understanding again that there's generally no odor until it's broken down by the bacteria and yeast that is on the skin surface. It's only then, once it's broken down in its external environment, that we find an odor. So one, sweat going directly to the surface of the skin, and the other one going through the hair follicles. So it is important, of course, that you also have healthy hair. So this is what I want to talk to you about. I want to talk to you now, understanding sort of the basics. I want to talk to you about VOCs, volatile organic compounds. Now, this is very important. These are compounds that are organic. They're in our system. They come out through our breath, through our blood, through our skin, through our urine, through our feces, through vaginal secretions. And depending on your age, your diet, your sex, of course, volatile, so that means it's always changing. These organic compounds also change as well. Why am I saying this? Because, sorry, I just want to go back to this slide for a minute. What I want to show you about this is that your body odor are a result of the combination of so sorry, let me just go back. So your body odor, yes, your perspiration, your sweat generally does not have a smell. It generally has a smell once it touches the surface of the skin. But science is now figuring out that body odor can also begin before it even reaches the surface of the skin. And why is that? And it's because of these VOCs. They're a result of the combination of hundreds of these VOCs that emit odorous smells, depending largely related to the metabolic breakdown of compounds. And so when we think of metabolic, we're thinking metabolism, and we should be starting to think of the foods we eat or that we don't eat. So understanding that these small little compounds, which go through our feces, our urine, our skin, our blood, our breath, they are made up of much of what comes through our diet. So again, it does matter about your age, it does matter about your sex, but diet is the most important, because every single thing we eat will end up somehow into the bloodstream. So it is very important to know and understand what is going to affect my blood. And I say it a lot, but our life is in the blood. Your red blood cells, your white blood cells, all of your nutrients. Your blood is the highway for every nutrient in the human body. If you do not have a good, healthy bloodstream, you will not be a healthy person. So it is so important understanding that when food gets broken down in the digestive system, your body is breaking it down to its molecular state so that it can then be transported through the bloodstream to the proper organs. Of course, you are going to also have any extra excessive waste product will go through the intestinal tract and be secreted out through the colon. So the breakdown of food and understanding that your colon needs fiber. So fiber in itself does not have an odor. Folks, our poop should not be foul smelling. Maybe a small smell because it's 24 hours to 72 hours to process food. But foul odor should not be coming every time we have a poop. Nobody should walk back into that bathroom and be like, ugh, somebody had a poop in here. That shouldn't be happening. If it is happening, then there is a problem with the fermentation or the breakdown of the foods that you and I are eating. That means that the food that we're eating is literally rotting in our system. Now, I want you to understand that outside of the colon, every single food we eat has to be broken down to its molecular state and carried, packaged up, and carried through the bloodstream to mostly the liver. And the liver will tell those vitamins where it's going, but it also goes to different places. Your kidney has to flush out a lot of that protein. And understand that our food produces also liquid waste that is not necessarily coming out through the bowels. It is releasing a lot of acid. It's releasing a lot of toxins, not because of choice, but because of the foods that we've put into the body. Many of the foods we eat, once they metabolize, they begin to ferment. That fermentation will become a chemical that the blood has to transport and figure out, how am I going to excrete this? Is this going through the liver? Is this going to then go through the kidneys? Is this going to be stored in my fat cells because my liver is too backed up right now? Your body incredibly is making these decisions every single day. But can you imagine if we are not emptying our garbage every day? Can you imagine if we are not, your bowels are not moving regularly, you're not sweating regularly, your body is having an overload of foods that create fermentation or waste? Well, what is that and what does that look like? Well, let's think about this for a minute, understanding that metabolic compounds are derived from the foods we eat, okay? And that's when you're going to get your VOCs, what we were talking about before. So the digestion process is generally 24 hours. I want you to think of the food you're eating. So think of a carrot sitting on a counter for 24 hours. Think about a glass of milk sitting on a counter for 24 hours. I want you to think of a piece of lettuce sitting on a counter for 24 hours. Let's put a piece of chicken or fish or steak or pork. Let it sit in a warm environment for 24 hours or more. What is going to happen to each of those products? Pretty much nothing from the carrot or the lettuce, but the other ones are going to rapidly grow bacteria and ferment, begin some really nasty odors. Folks, that's happening in our small intestinal tract and our colon because we are like 37 degrees inside. So if that food is sitting inside, understand that those compounds that they're being broken down into are going to also have to stay in your bloodstream. As I've said in another session before, we end up with quote unquote stinky blood. Okay, so we end up with having hundreds of these VOCs, these volatile organic compounds that are made metabolically into our bloodstream that have an odor. So I also want you to think of, I'm going to have a bowl of brown rice with some lentils on it. Let me let that sit for 24 hours. Would you eat it if you left it out overnight the next day? Oh, I forgot to put the lentils away. They're sitting out here. Do they smell? Oh, they're not so bad. But I'll tell you, we learned when I was taking my food handlers course, within 4 hours, you will begin to have rapid bacteria growth on most everything unless it's a raw food. So understand as well that even your cooked healthy foods, when broken down in the body, because generally digestion is taking a 24-hour process, can create an odor or some fermentation. The other thing that can create some stinky, dangerous, or toxic metabolic compounds is inflammation. So if you have I don't know if you guys have ever had a really bad wound, it can create pus, it can create mucus can come, which is part of the pussing process. And those things can smell. Well, this happens on the inside of our body. So if we are eating foods that have a lot of inflammation, and that inflammation happens in the body, just the inflammation itself can also create an odor. Caffeine can create a bad odor in the body, and as well, we talked about, it increases sweating as well as alcohol. Medications can also create chemical reactions in the body that can also create odor. Pop, juice, and refined sugar ferment in the system, also creating an odor. So meat, fish, eggs, any of your flesh proteins are going to take anywhere from about just over 24 hours to 72 hours. Pork is about 72 hours for it to fully decompose. So you can understand that, so beef is about 42 hours. So the longer it takes to decompose, the more odor it's going to cause. Dairy products are horrendous because dairy products, being breast milk from a baby cow, is full of hormones, and that messes with our hormones. So I want you to also understand that sometimes it's not even the decomposing of the food, but also just the food itself. When they're in our animal products, our meats are also pumped with hormones, unfortunately, just for preservation and possibly for taste, but that is also a reality. So whenever foods have hormones in it, it's messing with our hormones. And one thing that hasn't been, that I didn't fully write out here, which is extremely important, is stress. So because your whole endocrine system takes care of your sweat glands, understand that your hormones play a huge role of whether or not you're going to secrete your sweat properly, whether you're going to even sweat. And when you are stressed out, or when I'm stressed out, I don't know if you've experienced this before, but your and my body odor heightens extremely high just from simply being stressed out because of the big release of cortisol. That is a very strong chemical. Our hormones get off balance, and then we can also have extremely bad body odor. So is there hope for us? Absolutely, there definitely is. I want you to understand that water is so important in keeping your body flushed, clean. Listen, folks, if the garbage doesn't get changed, the whole house stinks. So if you're not pooping and peeing properly, then you are going to have a stinky house. So it's very, very important that water is our choice of drink every single day. The other thing too is that starting your morning with a lemon water is very important. Now, if you've got digestion issues that doesn't allow you to use lemon water, then of course you shouldn't do that. But lemon cuts bacteria inside, and it also cleanses. So it's very important that you squeeze half a lemon in your water in the morning. Drink that quickly. Again, if you have issues with lemon because you have sensitive teeth, or you have acid reflux or something like that, don't force yourself to do it, even if you did it once a week. But do not put it in your water throughout the day. You want only clean, pure water throughout the day, and cut pop, juice, coffee, tea, and alcohol from your diet is my recommendation. The other thing too is that having a healthy bowel movement is so important. If your bowels do not move regularly, if you are not having a long, full bowel movement every day, and you're eating every day, if you're on a fast, totally understandable. You're probably not going to have a big bowel movement. But if you are not fasting and you're eating daily and your bowels are not moving daily, I am going to tell you that one, you probably don't have enough fiber, but for sure you have a lot of waste. So there's a lot of waste there without a lot of fiber. And this is so dangerous. On top of that, if you're not drinking enough water, your bowels require so much water. I mean, look at that small intestine. Look at that colon. How do you think all of that moves? I mean, it's not magic, although the way we're made, it seems like it. But of course, your body produces peristalsis contractions so that it can go through, but it needs lots of liquid. Your bowels are, your intestinal tract is constantly needing liquid through water to be able to move those masses of poop, if I can say, and waste production that will turn into poop. It's constantly moving those fibers and all of the waste and all of the toxins through your colon, through the small intestinal tract, and then through the colon so that it can leave through the rectum and become the feces that should be long and full. So this is extremely important. So that being said, is you need tons of water. Your weight divided by 2 divided by 8 is the amount of water you should be drinking. But I'm going to tell you that if your food has a high water concentrate, which we'll talk about in a second, then that's half your battle right there. Because if you're having big salads and big bowls of fruit, there's so much water. That's like 80% water. So to have healthy bowel movement, you need lots of water, but not at the time of eating. You should have had that water in there from before, because it's using water that had come from your system from before. The other thing that's extremely important is that if your bowels are not moving very well, or they're backed up, or if you're not drinking enough water, because your bowel system and because your colon has so much water needed, if your heart needs water or your brain needs water, guess where it's taking it from, folks? Ew, It's taking it from your stinky, poopy bowels, pulling it back into the bloodstream, saying, Carolyn didn't drink enough water today. Sorry, her brain needs some water, or she's not going to be able to think properly. So it takes the water from the bowels, puts it back into the bloodstream, and we're wondering why we have body odor. Isn't that gross? It's true. We have poopy blood. So make sure you're drinking water and make sure you're having plenty of fiber. And that doesn't mean that you need to have a fiber-rich cereal every morning or keep eating, granola bars that are high in fiber. No, my friends, bran muffins, these are not the answer. Here's the answer. Have a healthy breakfast. Have 2 to 3 cups of fruit every morning, and after your fruit, then you can have a portion of whole grain. But I'm just going to be real with you that the more raw food you have, the less body odor you'll have. So make sure your fruit bowl is a little bit bigger than your cooked grains in the morning. And it may not be a porridge. Maybe you're going to have a healthy granola or a gluten-free bread with some sunflower seed butter, or maybe you're going to make yourself a chia seed pudding. But I'm just being real that as healthy as plant-based food is, it does go bad within 24 hours. Not as bad as chicken, fish, or eggs or dairy, but there is going to be some odor involved when we have cooked food in our system for 24 hours, where raw food doesn't generally do that. After, of course, you've had your big bowl of fruit and your breakfast item, you would wait 1 to 2 hours and drink wonderful water, and water until you're hungry again. And by the way, now is a good time, because I'm about to wrap up, for you to put any questions you have inside the chat. If you have any questions, I might have answered all of them, because sometimes I do that. So at lunchtime, you're going to have a big, huge leafy green salad with not vinegar, because vinegar, folks, is wine fermented. Every time you put vinegar on your salad or in your food, you might as well be drinking a glass of wine with your meal. In fact, it's worse, because it's wine fermented, and wine is already fermented. So it's a real problem. It does produce extra sweating, it does produce body odor, and it poisons your liver, pickles your organs. Stay away from vinegar. Just use lemon juice and olive oil on your salad. Once your big salad is finished, then you can move on to your cooked food. And I know that picture looks like white rice, which maybe it is, but in my book, we are going to pretend that's brown rice with all your healthy plant-based foods on there. Lots of orange and green vegetables, which is very important. But again, if you're looking to really cut body odor, you want your salad plate much bigger than your cooked plate, if that makes sense. Then you'll wait 1 to 2 hours after you've had this whopping big lunch, and you will drink water, and more water. And for dinner, you would just have a herbal tea. So this is very, very important that you're having your lightest meal at night, because if we go to bed and we are digesting dinner, food that is already having a fermentation process for many of us in the digestive tract has nowhere to go. You're not working out, you're not running around, you're not moving, you are laying in your bed, doing nothing, burning no calories on this big dinner. That is such a major problem, because we're sleeping on food. And when we sleep, we're supposed to be healing and repairing. So I just want to share with you, Nadine, who did our program last year, had horrendous body odor most of her life. And of course, I could see through her diet that she had a bit of a hormone imbalance as well. But it would seem that no matter what, even after showering, Nadine would always find that she still had a scent. Well, I got to tell you, about 2 weeks into our program, Nadine sends me an email and says, I can't believe it. Like, for the first time, I'm coming out of the shower, I don't have a smell, and it's the end of the day and I still don't smell. How did this happen? It happened to Nadine because We did the detox first, which was completely raw, cold press organic juices. She sweated out a lot of that through the exercise program that we had recommended for her. But I had to specifically for Nadine's program recommend a 75% raw diet. I don't do that for everybody, but for her, I recognize the hormone imbalance. And I'll tell you, all her life she's battling with odor, body odor, and within 2 weeks, she noticed she wasn't smelling anymore. That's huge because Nadine was already in her 40s. That's a lot of years of battling with body odor. The other testimony I want to share with you is someone who recently did our program is Janet, and she's in the East End. And Janet had vaginal odor, and that was very real for her, and it was very concerning. And doctors couldn't figure it out. Nobody could figure it out. Within about 10 days into our program, she said to me, you know, I've just noticed that I don't even know that I've had that odor since we've started the program. How does that happen? And it's because she's eating clean. So remember where we talked about those sweat glands that are in the vaginal area, under the arms, by the anus. So all of these are releasing the sweat, going on the surface of our skin, but the odor is not just from the skin, but it comes through the metabolic process. And those are the areas, the armpits, the vagina, the anus. These are the areas where the body is going to release most of these odors all the time. And personally, I can share with you that as a kid, like not even as a kid, I remember in our first early years of marriage, although I was plant-based, I was a sugar addict. And that was a real problem for me. And I remember my husband would say, you were sitting on this couch, weren't you? Because we'd have these little pillows there. And I'm like, yeah, I was just sitting there. He's like, oh, I have to go wash this pillow. I always had bad body odor. And I was plant-based, but I was eating a lot of sugar. I was eating a lot of cooked food, not enough raw food. I have not worn deodorant, I would say in about at least 5 years. I just don't wear deodorant. I have the same stick of deodorant inside. It's a natural bar, so I don't think it's dying. But the same stick of deodorant inside my drawer for years. So that is just a reality because my diet, I'm probably 80 to 90% raw in my diet. I'm not fully raw, but I'm mostly raw. And I noticed that as I ate more fresh food and finally got over my sugar addiction, I was not producing any body odor at all. And we go camping, I can go 5 days without a shower. No smell, zero, none. You could put your, not that you would want to, your head under my armpit and it would still smell like roses after 5 days. So anyway, those are some real life testimonies. And finally, I just want to let you know, for those that are listening, that if you would like to do a consultation and find out, do an assessment on your health, allow me or one of my nutritionists to do an assessment on your health, you can just go to EnergyShackJuiceBar.com, click on consultation. It's $35 for a 30-minute phone or video consultation. And I would love to have the opportunity to assess your health and let you know how we can customize a program that would be an absolute fit for you, because we just don't have a fail on our program, and our programs are so affordable. A consultation for $35 would probably be the best money you've spent in your life. So that is an option. You can also just become one of our subscribers. So every week get a video. If you've ever seen some of our videos online that cut off before I give the real natural remedy, for just $10 a month, you can get the full video sent to you, plus my personal recipes done by video, video demonstration of my personal recipes. So you get one of those a month. And there's lots more other subscriptions, but for just $10 a month, you get that as well. You get a free cooking demo and question and answer time every month with myself. I want you to know that if you are, thank you, Suzanne. If you are thinking of going plant-based, but you're not sure how to start, Delectable by ZarlaJane.com has all your meals, your salads, everything you need right on her website. It gets delivered right to your door for only $10 delivery, and we are delivering pretty much everywhere within an hour radius of the Energy Shack. So for more information, of course, just go to the EnergyShackJuiceBar.com, or the phone number is there of the store, or the email is there also. So with that, I am going to jump to the chat box because you guys have some questions for me. And I hope you all found that very valuable. And I'm just going to scroll up and get to the questions. So if you do have any more questions, folks, feel free to put it in, and I will spend the next 10-15 minutes just answering your questions. Yes, poopy blood is so gross. What kind of soap and shampoos are okay while showering, and is soap even necessary? You know, that is such a great question. Is soap necessary? I would say to some degree, soap is necessary. I use a company called Eco and Amore, and I'm just going to type that out, enter your message. And you guys can check them out online. They are a fantastic company. I don't know if you're familiar with them already, but they're here in Scarborough, and they use only natural products. Many of them are handmade from local vendors. I use a natural soap bar. I mean, honestly, I love my hair. I don't know if it looks great to you, but I have extremely healthy hair, but I haven't used a chemical shampoo in a very long time. I use an actual bar of soap that I just rub into my hair for shampoo and conditioner. It makes the world of difference. It adds volume to my hair. I mean, I've just straightened my hair. I flat ironed it, which is not healthy. But anyway, it adds so much volume that I had to straighten my hair. But it's so great. It's, in fact, my hairdresser will always say to me, like, wow, your hair's just getting healthier and healthier. So it's the soap that I'm using. Of course, my diet has a huge role to play in that. And then I also use their body gel. And you can tell the smell is just natural essential oils. And you can just tell it doesn't lather up so much. It doesn't soap up so much, but it does the job. So yes, I think soap is important to a degree. But honestly, if you are following, you know, a mostly raw diet, and you are eating extremely clean, you are drinking your water, you probably don't even need to shower every day. You are probably fine to shower every other day because the more soap you have on your body, the more you lose your essential oils. And I think Brad Pitt, if I remember, like quite a few years ago, announced live that he doesn't shower every day, and everyone's like, gross. I don't know if he eats clean or not, and I don't know if he smells, but it's not gross. It's actually what we should be doing. Do Epsom salt baths help with seating? How, not sure. I think you meant sweating, because I'm not familiar with that word unless it's a technical term that I'm not familiar with. But do Epsom salt baths help with sweating? So Epsom salt is detoxifying. It helps to pull toxins out of the body, and sweat can become the avenue for that. So yes, to some degree, the Epsom salt, it has pulling properties. And so I can't say whether or not it helps with sweating. Hot baths and all that steam coming out will make you sweat, but the Epsom salt does have detoxifying properties because it pulls toxins out of the system. How will the toxins get out? Yes, it will use the sweat glands to release that. In essence, yes, Epsom salts will help with sweating. And guys, that's why saunas are so great, because saunas help you to sweat and to open up the pores of your skin and to release a lot more toxins. So thanks to COVID, my sauna, my condo shut down, but I hope it reopens soon. However, that is, yes, a great way, Epsom salt. The other thing is Lyme disease, 8th-month exposure. Okay, so I've worked with people, Marina, with Lyme disease, but I'm just going to turn my computer around because I just need to go on the other side. Marina, I would say that I would have to actually speak with the person, do a consultation with them. in order to truly be able to help them, because for Lyme disease, it's a very, very, very specific protocol and some, important natural remedies. And same with neurological problems. So if someone's having neurological issues, again, I'd have to do an assessment of their health, because some people are just, born with a certain genetic disposition, and other people, it can happen because their nervous system has been affected, and so that can be helped. But just direct them to the website so that I can then do an assessment of their health. So question is happening here: what causes thyroid nodules to be on the trachea, and how do you get rid of it? It's a little bit difficult to be able to get rid of the nodules, but it's possible. They're very aggressive. So one, it can be, of course, an imbalance of hormones. It can also be a stress factor. So Verna, I don't want to use up this session talking about stinky things to talk about that, but maybe you can email me directly, and then I can address that, or you can bring that to the members' question and answer time. That might be helpful, because it's a whole protocol to get rid of it. You have to go on an autoimmune protocol and do a lot of poultices. So some examples of raw foods, that's a great question. So some examples of raw foods would be a big bowl of fruit or a salad. You don't have to get complicated eating raw, but anything that's live and from a garden or a tree becomes raw. So just your big bowl of fruit, that's all raw. Frozen fruit are still raw, just the enzyme action has slowed down through the freezing process. So you have less enzymes in frozen fruit. That's number one. Your lettuce, your cucumbers, your celery, those are all raw. Your almonds, as long as actually almonds from that we have here are not raw, they're pasteurized because FDA requires that. The almonds we have at the Energy Shack, they are raw because we bring them in from Spain and they are not pasteurized. But your sunflower seeds, your walnuts, your cashews, your pumpkin seeds, those are all completely raw unless they say they're roasted and salted. So those are also raw. Many times your hemp seeds, those are raw. Your hemp powder is generally raw. Sprouts are wonderful. And if you're part of our membership program, if you're not, subscribe today. Or you can pay for a session, but this month, the last Thursday of the month, I'm going to show you how to do some sprouting. And I'll tell you, even for myself, it was life-changing. When you can add raw sprouts into your diet, you increase your nutrition level like 1,000, I would say 1,000-fold, is probably not 1,000-fold, but like in such a huge way, and you increase your protein level in a huge way. So very, very important that you understand if you are trying to do a little bit more raw, and I don't recommend everybody here moves to a raw diet, because it's hard to take the iron out of raw food. You have to be very meticulous about doing that. But again, if you'd like more information, you can just join or get a free consultation happening, or join our question and answer period with the nutritionist, and by becoming a subscriber. So what foods are good for someone who has had their thyroid removed? A person who has their thyroid removed doesn't actually have to worry, Tammy, about any, if you have a thyroid that's not functioning, there's a whole list of foods you can't eat, but when it's removed, it doesn't matter. It matters now you won't be able to regulate your metabolism and a whole other things, but as far as food goes, none of that would matter. So Marina, if she lives in the Hurricane, just send me her intake form, and I can then just do the consultation with you, and you can share that information, or we can also do an email back and forth to her. So yes, we will be having a seminar on sprouting, but to get into that seminar for free, you have to be a member. If you're not a member, which only starts at $10, then you have to pay for the sprouting seminar, and it's $10. So everybody here should just become a member. And then you can join our question and answer period every month and ask me all the questions you want. It looks like this is the end of our questions on body odor. I hope that helped. I want to tell you that it's very, very real. Just speaking from experience, I had bad breath, I had stinky farts, I had bad body odor. I don't. I definitely, when you're fasting, it's normal to have bad breath, and we're going to talk about that next week. So part 2 next week. But I hope that you understood the information that I shared. I know there were some technical terms in there, but basically, in summary, sweat should not have a smell. But because of our volatile organic compounds, sweat can have a smell due to food metabolizing, medication we take, or a few other factors. But it's when the skin has bacteria on it that when it decomposes, we have odor. But again, I have bacteria on my skin. It decomposes when I sweat. I work out like a dog at least 3 times a week, like a very hard workout. And even after my workout, I don't smell anymore. And neither do the clients that I have been working with that have had bad body odors. So I hope that was helpful for you. I hope you enjoyed today's session. I hope you will make some healthy food choices. And I hope one day you will never need deodorant. All right, guys, that's the end. Have a good night. And please reach out to the Energy Shack Juice Bar website or email or call us if you have any questions.